My name is Asha Jadeja, and I'm a venture capitalist based in Palo Alto, California. And I'm delighted to be launching something called Global India Dialogues in Davos 2024, with the intention being how do we explore and and discover and recognize and acknowledge the challenges and the opportunities that will arise as a giant nation of 1.4 billion people comes into the global arena more actively and participates as a global power, not just in the global south, but even in relation to Europe, US, and so on. We have already started seeing lots and lots of movement of Indian diaspora in the US, actually coordinating a lot with the US, the Indian government, Indian private sector, and establishing certain unprecedented linkages that we have never seen before. This is the first time in history that we are seeing partnerships happening on defense, on Indo-Pacific security, on technology, artificial intelligence, food, and water security. And climate, of course, is a big area where both the countries are working together very actively. So delighted to be launching the Global India Dialogues, and I am hoping that with this conversation that we begin today, we are beginning to create a community of people that will come together in establishing some links between, let's say, Netherlands and India, or Malaysia and India, and we've already started seeing activity on that front. So my hope is that this will just accelerate and create and shape a narrative about India's emergence on the global stage in a different way. So we are just going to go around the table now and have everybody introduce themselves. Maybe please give about 30 seconds. Tell us about yourself, and then we can kick off the conversation. Let me first introduce you guys to my co-founder, especially with the India chapter of Global India Foundation, Global India Dialogues. And Archish Mittal is a fellow entrepreneur and a serial entrepreneur, actually based in Delhi. And Archish and his friend Chaitanya Singh will be hosting a lot of these Global India Dialogues in India. So let me start with Archish. You introduce yourself, and then let's go around the table.
Well, thank you so much, Asha, for that. And, firstly, welcome everyone, in this cold weather to take time out to come up to this place. It's, really something. So thank you so much. And, coming here to Davos for 8 years now, I've never seen what I've seen this time. India is everywhere. There's more Indians than you can count. And, it's just a testament to the India growth story, which everyone is talking about, whether it's entrepreneurship, venture capital, everything is happening in India right now. Myself, I'm an entrepreneur. The latest venture that I founded is Leo One, which is an education fee financing company in India. And, I'm not involved in that anymore. I sit on the board and looking for my next venture after this. So really happy to be here and, partnering up with Asha to make this happen. So it'll be great if, everyone can just introduce themselves briefly, and then we can kick off the discussion. So I'll start with Chaitanya here.
Thank you so much, Archish and Asha, for having me here. I'm Chaitanya Raj Singh Bhati. I'm from the royal family of Jaisalmer, where the heart of the Thar Desert. I'm a social entrepreneur, and I'm working in the fields of education, conservation of heritage, and water. It gives me immense pleasure to be here and represent my place and my family. Currently, my state, Rajasthan, where Jaisalmer is located, gets the most sunlight in terms of sun radiation, and in Jaisalmer we have the largest wind farm. So I hope that we can push the narrative that my state can become self-reliant in terms of energy. My work in education in India, we've just started a girls' school in Jaisalmer, and we want to be able to make a women's economic center with it. Where currently we have 141 girls. We plan to scale it up to 400. When it comes to dealing in water conservation, we're working with old ancient water harvesting systems, which directly correlate with food and water security. And that's something which I'm very passionate about. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
My name is Aparna Pandey. I work at a think tank, Hudson Institute, based out of Washington, D.C. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Asha and Archish, for the invitation. And it's great to be part of the launching of the Global India Dialogue. My work is primarily in foreign policy and national security. And so what I have been watching for the last few years, especially 2023, was what one could call the Year of India. And I'd say the next 10 years are going to be the years of India, or the decade of India. It's the fastest growing economy. It's the world's most populous country. It's part of every multilateral, minilateral arrangement around the world. It's a founding member of the United Nations. And every country would like to have a better relationship with India on the military, economic, diplomatic front. And India also has a massive soft power, which it has built over the last 7 decades. So this is the time for India, and it's great that this dialogue is being launched so that it can help build a sort of, basically enhance what India is doing and ensure that more people around the world listen to and hear about the India story, because it's always been a model and an example for the world, not just the developing or the global south, but even for other parts of the world, including the Western world. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Mozamil Aman. I'm originally from Afghanistan, Afghan German, now based in Berlin for the last 10 years. And I run a startup called Star Steps, and we bring talent from all walks of life to break into careers in IT and tech. And that's a big opportunity and challenge for Germany. So last week there was a report by one of the biggest IT associations announced that we have a skill gap of 150,000 people. So we need 150,000 skilled worker in IT, and we just simply don't have. And on average, one position remains 7 months open. So for that, we are training a lot of talent in Germany, but I think talent mobility and exporting talent, India is the place to be, and we would love to find ways how we can actually bring more talents from India to Germany and also have an entrepreneurship exchange and kind of vice versa. So that's what I'm interested in.
My name is Maria Inês Kawamura. I'm from Brazil. I'm married to an Indian, so that's my first link to India. I'm a physician. I studied rare genetic diseases, and I got very interested in education with the growth of my kids. And I've been working in the last 20 years with international education, and I'm a director of the Mahindra United World College of India, located in Pune. The idea is to bring young students from all over the world to live and study together. And they are there for 2 years, the last 2 years prior to college. And after that, they go back to their home countries with this wide notion of the world firsthand from their best friends, and obviously with a real idea of India. And it's been a pleasure to work with India.
Hello, I'm Beatriz Garcia. I work in early stage VC startups. Part of my passion is helping young entrepreneurs on their IPO journey, becoming positioned not just as startups, but really on a pre-IPO journey and giving them access to capital markets. It's much needed, and excited and delighted to be helping all of your efforts in India in that regard.
My name is Janine Hendel. I'm the CEO of the Roger Federer Foundation. We are only working in Africa on early education. And this we do with digital approaches. So my interest, and thank you for having me in this roundtable, is really India is the leading country when it comes to public-private partnerships. And here we can learn a lot. And secondly, I would love to sensitize and mobilize India to become more engaged in Africa.
I'm Sam Blythe. Thank you, Asha and Archish, for your kind invitation. My involvement goes back to my children's great-grandfather, who came from Czechoslovakia in 1934 and opened a small shop outside of Calcutta That is now the Bata Shoe Corporation, which is, I think, 1,250 stores across India. So we have a long history in the country and are obviously big believers. I ran and built one of the larger global education companies. I'm involved in 3 tech companies, ed tech companies in India at the board level. And I'm also Consul General, Honorary Consul General for Bhutan. And December 17th, we announced with the support of India the creation of a new city-nation in Bhutan to be built on the border of Bhutan and India called Galafu, which will be an innovation center, a fantastic place to live, being built by a Danish architect, Engels, which will be hopefully it will be a mindfulness center and a place of great education and great cooperation between India and Bhutan.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. I think we have a really excellent group of people here. Everyone is either involved in India or looking at India. So, just to proceed the conversation, just would like to hear, some things from people's journey about India, right? For example, Chaitanya, you recently were appointed the king of Jaisalmer, and you've got a lot of responsibility on your shoulders to, look after the people, and you're also an entrepreneur doing work in education. So maybe why don't you speak about, India from the lens of a young entrepreneur who's trying to do so many things, and what are some of the challenges that you may face also, and how is it for you to be an Indian at this time in the world?
I'm going to start with the last sentence. It's actually very empowering to be an Indian, and it's a very it's a golden period for India over the last 10 years, and the coming decade would be very important and crucial for India and its global diplomacy, mainly also to do with climate change as well. If India does not get its act together and the world does not work with it, it'll be very difficult to stop the climate from warming and getting past the 1.5 degrees Celsius mark. I got back to India in 2015 from SOAS, University of London, where I studied politics of Asia and Africa. And since then, I started a startup called Paul Strat Communications, where we deal with political consultancy with MPs and MLAs, various leaders. And now I just do new business development for them, get them new clients. And I started the foundation for the school. So it's been a 6 to 8 year journey with the school. A lot of challenges. It's not easy to build a school in the middle of the desert. But we were able to raise money within India. That was quite a challenge because we need to get the right partners on board. So we worked with the Ambani family to receive funds to start the school. Although we had a lot of funds in New York, but due to India being in a transition phase, we were not able to get the funds on time, and we're still working on getting our licensing framework. And it was also very difficult to get the parents of the girls to send them to school. And that was one of the challenges where my family and my mother and grandmother were able to reach out to the families and convince them that why they need to send their girls to the school.
Chaitanya, tell us a little bit about what was the role of the government in funding you guys? Did they help in some way? Because what you're doing is actually what's the government's job.
Yes.
And, right? So did you have any specific help from state government or central government?
We wanted to work with the state government. That was much easier. As you know, India is a very decentralized economy. But I'm going to be very blunt and honest about how the government helped us, or at least we tried to get help from them. But they didn't really take us seriously because we actually wanted some land to start the school. And they actually said that why are you building a girls' school? You should focus on cow insemination centers. But that's something which we were very shocked about. But we didn't give up, and it took us 3 to 4 years to get that building made. And once the building was made, then they took us seriously. And then we got a lot of government administration help in terms of reaching out to the families, because we did a survey to choose the girls, because we had a target of 400 girls. And since then, the government administration has been very helpful in making sure that we are able to run this project well. In fact, they want us to build more schools around the district, but it's not that easy. It's like a stepping stone. Apart from that, we also face a lot of challenges in terms of making the building as sustainable as possible. So we have a solar, we have solar panels on the building. So we pay to $20 a month because of that, and we have a 4 lakh liter water harvesting tank. So we survive on 6 to 7 months on that. So we don't depend on groundwater. And we're also based in a very secular village, and we cater to 12 villages around, and we have 3 buses, and some things are just meant to happen, and we people kept on joining with us. So we from all over the world and India. So we were donated 3 buses from a farmer in Punjab who came on board and helped us with that. We also got a lot of help from the locals. They currently still volunteer and did volunteer earlier as well to make this project happen. The school is an architectural marvel. We really focused on building a very fascinating monument. I could call it that now, because it's won around 20 to 30 global and national awards on architecture. And our architect Diana Kellogg was also awarded by Narendra Modi at the Architectural Biennale, which was hosted last year in December.
Can I go with next? Let me go with Aparna. So Aparna has been an author who has been writing about this topic of sort of what does it mean for India to be coming into the global arena, and what is it? Where is its growth trajectory heading? And what she sees, she's also been actually a sort of a security and defense expert. So Aparna, tell us a little bit about your own work at Hudson and how you are seeing this enormous shift that's going on India's interest, participation, and even attraction to the global stage. What is it that's, what are you seeing in the last 3 to 5 years?
Thank you, Asha and Archish. I'd say that at one level, the last 10 years, I think things have changed. Part of it is geopolitical reality. The world has changed. We have sort of an India which is economically stronger, which is militarily more powerful, which is located in a part of the world which matters to many countries around the world. India is building on its decades-old diplomatic and soft power. If you go around the world, I know somebody mentioned Africa. India actually has been investing in Africa for decades. Very old relationship along East and South and Southern Africa. If we go to the older relationships with many countries in Asia, and so at a time of global change and geopolitical change, when the United States and many countries around the world want to ensure that the rise of countries like China does not end up creating an international order which is not rules-based, which is not open, which is not free, and which is not welcoming to all. India is the country they have turned to in the last decade, because India is as I mentioned, it's viewed as a model. It's a post-colonial country. It's educated its people, 75% literacy. It has remained a democracy in a region where military dictatorships are the norm. It has grown its economy without having to turn to autocracy. And it uses its military only for defense. And so it's an example and a model which which makes it easier when India says that, like at the G20 summit in September, a number of the aims that India put forth were not just aims of India, but the aims of most countries around the world, whether it is sustainability, whether it is environment, whether it is debt restructuring for countries which are falling under that. Or it comes to even hard security issues like maritime security, building an economy, but an economy which is just and which ensures growth and development at the same time. So India has in the last 10 years managed to use all its endowments and its capabilities to come on the global stage right at the time. I mean, it's sort of, it's one of those things which happens rarely, I'd say, that so many countries around the world would want another country to rise. And it's true. Many countries around the world want India to rise. They want to work with India. They want India as a regional and a global player. And that's happening. And so the next 10 years, I'd say, I'd like to echo something Chaitanya said, which is that India has an opportunity, and so does the world, but both sides need to do things in order to achieve the goals of Indians and of others. So India needs to continue the economic growth and development story. It needs to keep building its military. It needs to keep focusing and building its massive soft power, its developmental assistance, and continue engagement on the global on the global arena. I'll just give one example. 2023. It was a year packed with engagements for India, starting off with the December 2022, India was the president of the UN Security Council. January, India hosted the Global South Summit. May, India was a participant at the G7 Summit, then the Quad Leaders Summit in Japan. Over summer of 2023, there was the BRICS Summit. And the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, and September the G20 before in India. And so it was in between the Indian Prime Minister went to United States and the American President came. So there were 43 heads of state in September in India and for G20. Along with many others. And so it shows where India has come in the last decade or so, and what more India can do in the coming years. Build on its capabilities and ensure that moving forward, it continues to achieve and deliver on the goals of Indians and of others. Thank you.
One of the things that I would like to add to what Aparna said is that a lot of people, Aparna, in other parts of the world may not recognize that the median age of India is 28. It's a very young nation, and the demography is something that is working wonders for its growth potential. So I think in terms of also the fact that it's got 23 languages and that it's it has a population of 1.4 billion people. Many of them are now urban, and many are English speaking. So let me please share your thoughts with us and say your name again.
Yes, Janine Handel. I think India has a tremendous amount of best practices when it comes to philanthropy, when it comes to edtech, especially, where a continent like Africa could really learn from, and it could be scaled, especially also because you mentioned there are so many Indian rooted people dispersed in especially Southern Africa. And I would really like to encourage to spread out and see how you tackle rural communities so that they have access to education, how you have impact investing approaches, which are a huge amount of very successful approaches, which would be adaptable in Africa. I think we really should have on a global scale the mentality to scale best practices which are already happening and stop piloting, because there is so much going on which has proven the evidence, and we should learn from. Thank you.
India is the largest private education market in the world, and we will see. I'm sure we'll see. We're seeing now inward investment into India to further develop, to consolidate it. And I think to lift the standards. not only at primary, but right through to post-secondary levels. I'm on the board of a couple of companies, Leo One, another one which is the largest platform for Indian students to apply to international universities. And we already see a trend there of the brightest Indians actually deciding not to stay in the UK, Canada, US, but they're coming home. They're coming home to found companies and to take senior roles in Indian companies. And it's a great leading indicator for the future of India. Speaking from Bhutan's point of view, I think India has a great friend on its northern border. Our greatest friend is India. And our northern borders are secured by India, with more than 60,000 Indian soldiers up on our borders. So we owe a tremendous debt to India, but we also look forward to developing with India and making sure we're prosperous, that we're democratic, we're liberal democratic, and we've seen in Bhutan the devolution from an autocracy, from a very strong monarchy, a very popular monarchy, to democracy. We've just held our fourth election last week. So the future is very bright, and Bhutan is alongside India in that journey.
Okay, so we have with us my dear friend Mukesh Aghi, who is the CEO of US ISPF, which is based in Washington D.C. It's a business group that enables a sort of a strong partnership corridor between US and India. And Mukesh has been, been very instrumental in kicking off defense and other business relations between the two countries. I'm going to let him have a few minutes tell us a little bit about yourself, Mukesh, and what is it that USISPF is doing in sort of providing a little bit more of a momentum for India's rise on the global stage. The discussion that we are having today, Mukesh, is about the fact that even in Davos, you can see a sampling of it. It's the Indians everywhere. And all the events that are around India are sold out. There are long lines outside. So there's clearly something, there's a buzz going on here that I don't know how to put a wrapper around it, but maybe you can tell us a bit more since you've been in the thick of it for so many years now. So take it away from here.
Well, first is my apologies. Trying to find this place, we got lost. But we're here. We're delighted to be here. And Asha, thank you for hosting us and hosting this. I think let me just start from a geopolitical perspective, and then we can get into the business side. What we are seeing is after the almost 1,000 years of India's getting kind of colonized from Mughals to British, you have an economy which is rising. You have an economy which is now $4 trillion and growing at 7.6%. And it will be a $5 trillion economy. And from a purchasing power parity perspective, India is already one of the second largest economy. And we do expect India to be the third largest economy in the next 7 years itself. So you have an economic rise of India. At the same time, you have I call a flux in the international order, where you have rise of China, which does not agree to the current international order and likes to challenge that. And so keeping that in mind, what we are seeing is a aggressive China. You have United States, which is saying basically we need to partner with India to deal with less chaos on a global basis. And that's where the focus is. Now, there are a couple of places which are taking place. One is economic. Economic means China became a manufacturing hub for US companies. And suddenly they are getting harassed now. We're talking to a lot of companies. So they're looking to de-risk their supply chain from China. And India becomes a pivotal partner in that area. That's one aspect. The second is the growing market of India provides an opportunity for US company to put in the flag early on It's a 4 trillion, 5 trillion, it'll be $10 trillion economy. And a population which is 60% is below 26. So it's a young population, highly ambitious, speaks English as a language. You have close alignment with the US. We have around 272,000 Indian students in America. 70% are in STEM program. We have 5 million Indian Americans, which is 1.5% of the US population, but generating 6% of the GDP. So basically, one of the more affluent minority group, one of the most educated minority group. So what we are seeing is close alignment happening between India and the US to deal with the rising aggressive posture of China. To answer Asha's question on defense cooperation, what we are seeing is obviously India is the second largest buyer of weapons, but now it's trying to build more domestically. And the US is working with that from that every aspect. In fact, a lot of stuff which are happening in Ukraine, Gaza, and other places, India is partnering with the US. For right or wrong, we can debate into that. But I think more important is you have to understand that the partnership from a geopolitical perspective between two countries is going to get stronger as time goes by. Regardless if it's Democrats or Republican, the partnership will get stronger and stronger because there's geopolitical alignment between two countries itself. So I think I'll stop here, and then there'll be more occasions. Basically, as President Biden said, this is the most consequential relationship of the 21st century, and our job is to execute that in every aspect, because democracies flounder. Political leadership go away. It's the institution like us which has to step in and drive that partnership.
Mukesh, thank you so much. What we are going to do now is, given that we've gone around the table, is we are going to open the floor up to Q&A and have everybody's, just sort of whatever questions you might have, and take it from here. Would you like to start with some questions?
Sure. Yeah. Firstly, thank you so much, everyone, for contributing to such a good discussion. And firstly, does anyone here have any questions about India, about whatever we spoke about?
Yes, I'm Mozamel. As I said, I'm based in Berlin, and we provide talent in IT sector to different big companies. And my question and focus is, as India has always been a exporter of talent when it comes to tech, how can we actually establish relationships in ways to bring more Indian talent to Germany and place them into companies and find them opportunities, and also the exchange on entrepreneurship. So Berlin is also one of the biggest hubs when it comes to startups. So how can we make that? And I'll be interested in that, partnerships, opportunities around that.
I mean, I'm happy to take a shot at that. So I actually think that, do you want me to use the mic? Yes. Okay. I actually think that the door is wide open right now, and the demand is great in Europe. I've been speaking to some people in Italy, and there is this general sense that, how do we enable and accelerate, a flow of talented Indian talent, especially in software and in logistics and in data processing and data management. How do we get more people to come in from India? Because Europe actually does need it pretty badly. If you are interested in something like this, I actually strongly recommend setting up a little entity through something called Gift City. It's based in Gujarat, and you can ping me about this a little bit later. But so if you register yourself in Gift City as a business that wants to do this, I think it's actually very easy for somebody to do this from sitting in Germany, and and be able to pull off a solid business, as well as a much more thriving corridor between Germany and India. And I think from Indian side, I'm not. What is yours? And in fact, let me ask you, what is your sense of the visa situation? So if Indian engineers want to come there, is it easy? I mean, I know that it's not easy for US, for example, right now.
Yeah, so this is actually a very great question. So Germany passed a new law just 2 months ago to make it more and more easy for people to come. So we have the traditional blue card, which had a threshold of 50,000 euros as a salary, and you had to have a bachelor's degree that was recognized, that had to be recognized in Germany. Those restrictions are now going away. So basically, if your degree is recognized in the country of origin, and you have a contract from a company, it becomes super easy for you to apply. And they're adding more and more benefits in terms of bringing dependents, even parents. That's a big discussion right now, because as an Indian family household, it's really important to also have the larger family around you. So it's becoming more and more of a topic. And so the gap is widening, because we're talking about 1 million people that are required in the next 4 to 5 years. And as you mentioned, it's definitely tech, green tech, healthcare. And we can facilitate that on our end. So we have partnerships with big companies that are looking for talent. We have the resources to basically screen and say, hey, these are the profiles, and they get matched. And as a matter of fact, actually in 2022, 17% of the migrant or immigrant workers were from India in Germany. So it's a big topic, and yeah, I'm happy to explore, and I would definitely look to Gift City in Gujarat.
And I'm happy to help out with that. This
Thank
is
you.
something I'm super interested in.
Thank you.
Somebody had a question?
I just would like to add to this as well. So I've been working with a lot of embassies back home in India, and the German embassy over the last 2 to 3 years has been doing immense outreach programs in education and tech, so that there can be more people, more young people going to Germany to work. So I guess that trend is just going to get increased in the coming years.
Hello, my name is Jan René Fricke. I'm an entrepreneur from Frankfurt, Germany. I'm in the healthcare e-commerce business. We build brands for the German market. I don't maintain any business relationship with India, but let me give you a bit German perspective and ask you some questions, because what I realize is that there's not a lot awareness about India in Germany. There are very strong ties of all the small and medium companies to China, and they really stick on keeping that relationship and say, look, it's working now, but we're very not so open to open us up for new partners. And I would want to ask you, like, in which areas do you see potential partnership with Germany or Europe, or how we can improve this, what you started here as a dialogue between those countries to get more awareness to partner with India?
I would say, first of all, partner with him and reach out to me, because I would love to see how I can participate. But I'm going to let either Archish or Mukesh talk about this, because I'm not that familiar yet with how the businesses are operating. So,
Well, on your first question, there are companies, all they do is supply talent. We have somebody from Wipro, talk to them, you can partner with them, and you can hundreds of thousands of professionals coming in. So that's the process, easy done. I think from your perspective, you have India which is focused on so many areas, from space technology. In fact, Indian companies are now partnering in the US on the space side, software side. Depending on where the interest is, we can help you line up the right companies there. There's no limitation, because you have 1.4 billion people, a young population which is very aspiring, very educated, very intelligent. And so I think if you can just nail down specific area, we can line up the right organization to support you there.
Skinder Hundal from British Council. I'm the Global Art Director. My question is obviously going to be associated with culture and creativity. And India has a huge tradition of great heritage, philosophy, mythology. And in this modern age of conflict, you could say, but also expansion and technology and artificial intelligence and quantum economics even, where does this ancestral heritage, this great nation's mythology, sit within this modern context? So that's my kind of question to the panel. And is this something that's on your minds as business people, or is it about the kind of technological advancement?
thank you for that really important question. There's two of us are probably going to tackle that, myself and Chaitanya. So Chaitanya, you start first, and then I'll give 2 minutes of my own 2 cents on this, which is because as an art collector, that's what I've been trying to do, Skandar, which is, collect Indian art and bring few artists. We have a small art residency now. So we bring one artist per year to New York City, and we get them sort of plunged into, the museum world, the world of galleries and so on. And they get this renewed sense of, confidence by just being in New York. Many of them are there for the first time. So that's my journey, but I'll tell you more about it in a bit. But Chaitanya,
Thank you, Asha. First, thank you for that question. We just the fort where my ancestors have built, it's the oldest living fort in the world. There are 300 families that live inside the fort. So last year in November we held a festival called Panorama Editions, and we partnered up with 18 embassies, and we celebrated 100 years of Denmark in India, which is very interesting because we never know about the Danish in India. We talk about the French, we talk about the British, obviously, we talk about the Portuguese, but the Danish we somehow miss. But they also were in India as well. There are many aspects to your question. I would tackle it by starting with mindfulness and spirituality. I think that is something India is exporting to the world for decades or centuries. So that is something which India, whether people want to believe the mythology or not believe the mythology, but the mindfulness part in tackling with mental health, which is becoming a big issue all over the world right now, is going to be one of the key driving factors. Secondly would be Ayurveda. I think Ayurveda and holistic health approach in partnership with Western medicine and healthcare would also be a great driving force to dealing with the health issues we are facing right now in the world. And thirdly would also be the old ancient water harvesting knowledge that we have in India, that I am working on with my foundation at the moment, where which directly correlates with water and food security. So that comes up. That's what I would like to tell you about about what your question was. Thank you.
In Bhutan, we struggle with this question. We have one of the best preserved traditional cultures in the world, but we also have a need to modernize them. And I think we feel that they're not incompatible. The building of the mindfulness city in southern Bhutan is an indication of that. In fact, we see prosperity in Bhutan as contributing to the conservation of traditional culture. But it's tricky. It's difficult, and values go along with all this modernization and technology. And it's really important in the education system to go back to those values that we hold dear, while at the same time educating the next technology generation and engineers and mathematicians. So it's a great question, and it's a great struggle, but it's possible.
I just had a point, if you look at what's happening on January 22nd with the Ayodhya temple, it's the first time they're actually trying to build something which could be the Vatican for the Hindus, right? So it goes back and touches on the mythology part of it. You look at the museums that are getting revamped all over the country. You have the museum for NGMA, it's called. You have the Prime Minister's Museum, which India has never had, that's being built. So I think there is a movement going on within the country. But if you look outside of the country, I live in northern Jersey, New Jersey, and there's the Akshardham temple, which is supposedly the biggest temple outside of India. And what was fascinating was that 50% of the crowd that is visiting the temple is actually non-Indians. And then you have, I think, the Prime Minister's opening another temple in Abu Dhabi next week or next month. So again, all of this is, tying the knots around the cultural, the religious aspect of what's happening in the country right now.
For all the erstwhile royal families. So I think that there's going to be a meeting soon at the end of the month where the Ministry of Culture is going to be setting up a museum to commemorate the work done by the 565 princely states in the country.
I want to ask this. I actually want to ask a follow-on question to Gaurav. Um, Gaurav, what do you think has triggered this sort of this, like almost like an avalanche, right, of of an inclination, both within the government, within the private sector? What is this sort of a combination of factors that have come together, which is creating this level of pride and confidence in Indian culture, mythology, and this deep desire to showcase it to the world? What do you think has triggered this?
I think it's the subtle point Mukesh made. It was 1,000 years of some sort of colonization, right? Where the narrative and the history has been written in a certain way. I think what Mr. Modi and his team has done definitely is to make sure that it's the history that if they understand, the culture, the sensitivities, the religion, everything put together. What's fascinating is one point I missed is the Met in New York is involved. They just had the Tree and Serpent exhibition, which was funded by the Reliance Foundation. And I know the Met director is going to India next month to sit down with the Ministry of Cultural Affairs. So, they're opening up. They're very cognizant of their history, and I think this time they're being bold about presenting it.
Let me add to that. I think there is a slight growing sense of nationalism that's driving it. There is a younger population whose sense of confidence is up. And if you look at most of the people in that direction are younger youth, a focus on the Ram Mandir, which is happening on 22nd. And the third factor, which I see it is more of an effort by the BJP to leverage that towards their own advantage also. So it's a combination of nationalism, politics, and sense of pride, and which is trying to drive this. I think we have to be a little careful because when India was always seen as a soft power, whereas China has been seen as a hard power. And soft power is seen because of our culture, our music, our Bollywood, and other aspect. And we don't want to lose that. So you don't want in this process that soft power shifting away into hubris. And I think that's one of the messages we keep on telling folks in India. Keep your head down, keep on driving the economy, and at the same time enjoy the ride itself.
Sure. So my name is Gorika Chako, and I'm with Wipro. And Wipro is an Indian heritage company with a global footprint. We're a technology company. And the ethos of our company is giving back. And that is one of the big aspects of the culture of India, which is a high level of generosity. There's enough research that's been done on it that Indian people are happy people, irrespective of how much money they have in the bank. You could go to somebody in a village and they will offer you their meal, even if it's the only meal that they have, right? And that is inherent in most Indians. So coming back to Wipro, I would say we're one of the only companies globally that is for profit, and yet 67 cents to every dollar that we earn goes back into our foundation, which then goes into charity. And the areas that we focus on are health, finance, and education. And that's through the Premji Foundation. So, I think that there are models like that. HCL Tech has another pretty big charitable arm as well. So more and more companies are doing that. And Infosys, exactly. So, I think you can have a good balance between the two. My only urge to India would be actually to be more bold. I don't think we're bold enough. That's just my 2 cents. I think there's just so much talent, and it is really the era of technology. And that is really the genesis of where India is today. We're a young nation and very, very strong in technology, and we need to take that message forward stronger.
Perhaps close this conversation now. We can please continue. I just want you to know that there is something called Swedish lunch, which is happening here. Please stick around and be part of that. There are going to be lots and lots of interesting people in this gorgeous venue that are going to be going back and forth. So please get to know people. We are all going to be here. Some of you are going to be interviewed, I think, by Archish. So we'll catch hold of you as we find you. But thank you so much for joining us today as we launch this extremely important and exciting project called Global India Dialogues. This is going to be a series of salons that are going to be hosted in multiple cities around the world, probably led by people like yourselves who are going to take it and run with it. And, we'll probably provide some high-level framework for you to run with it. But I can totally imagine both of you hosting a Global India Dialogues in Germany. With some participation from India. So this is a very exciting time, and I'm humbled that you all made the time to be here. Davos is a crazy time, and so thank you for being here, and please stay in touch with us. Thank you.